A key difference between successful and unsuccessful people is that successful people manage their time. That's like common knowledge, but it goes so far beyond that. There was a psychological study that was called the Good Samaritan study. Some of you may know this study. The experimenters took a group of seminary students from Princeton, about 70, and they told them all that they were going to write and record a sermon later that day. And half of them were given the sermon topic of the Good Samaritan parable from the Bible. And some of you may remember, but there was a wounded man on the street, and the king passed him by, and the priest passed him by, and only the humble Samaritan, stopped to help. Okay, so half of these seminarians were writing about the Good Samaritan. The other half were given what the experimenters call a value-neutral topic, kind of a boring topic on career advantages for seminarians. Not so exciting. So they all go off to write their sermons, and then when they're done, they're told one of three messages. Some of them are told, you have plenty of time, they're not going to be recording you for a few hours, go out and have a cup of coffee, take a walk, it's beautiful out, and then when you're ready, come back to this building, this other building where they'll tape you. Another third of them were told, you know what, you're right on time. They're expecting you right now. So no coffee, no nice stroll through, the woods. Just go to the next building and record the sermon. And the third group were told, of course, oh my gosh, you're really late. You're really late. They expected you half an hour ago. Everything's set up. They can't believe it. They really need you. This is a disaster, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so, and here's what happened. As each seminarian either walked or ran, if they thought they were late, to the next building where they were going to record their sermon, they actually encountered a confederate of the experimenters who was lying on the ground, moaning and writhing in pain. Okay, this is amazing. And so they were obviously, you figured it out, being presented with the Good Samaritan scenario in real life. And what the experimenters determined was that basically the key variable that determined whether someone would stop and help was whether they were late. If they thought they were late, they were far less likely to stop and help the wounded and suffering person. And by the way, it didn't matter whether they had spent the morning thinking deeply about the Good Samaritan story. That went right out the window. And they've repeated it many times with different scenarios, different stories. The intellectual context, as you will, goes right out the window. The key determinant of whether someone is willing to help is whether they're late. Some of the people actually stepped over the wounded person to get to record the sermon. But the real reason, the deep reason to manage your time is because when we're late, when we're rushing around, which is what happens when we don't manage our time, we are not the people that we're capable of being. Now, you know this, right? First of all, you lose, your memory, right? You can't remember where the keys went. You lose relational capacity, right? You don't treat people as well. When you're on the road, all you want to do is get ahead of them. At home, you just want to brush them off. You lose analytical capacity. We don't solve problems as well when we're rushed. But we even lose moral capacity.